Namaste, welcome to Perseverance IAS. The following are the important articles in the Hindu newspaper to be read on June 29, 2021. Let us begin with the first article. NIA NSU find no debris of drones at Jammu IF base. This article is important to understand what is going on in Jammu and Kashmir and particularly the usage of drones to carry out terror attacks, and you have to read this article to get an understanding of the same. The next article is Government unveils 6.28 lakh crore stimulus post second COVID wave. You have to understand what are the sectors that the government of India chose to give stimulus to and why they are significant, how much is being given, why it is being given. You have to read this and understand more. The next article that you have to read is 10-month dosage gap boosts antibodies, says Oxford study. Why this study is important, who is conducting this study, what are the implications of this study for India is what you have to get this from article. The next is dialogue not at cost of national security, says Rajnath Singh. The significance of the statement, why he is saying is where it is being said is important to get a bearing of how things are between India and China. Moving on to the next article, HC to stick to virtual hearings till July 23 or Delta Plus threat. So we are concerned about the technology that is being used and why it is being used. Moving on to the next, that is the editorial. Before that, there is this article in from Assam, where they talk about the smallest wildlife sanctuary, and you have to know the name for prelims perspective and why it is significant, and sighting of a tiger is significant because regarding that. So moving on to the editorial, the first article that you have to concentrate is the law of sedition is unconstitutional. You have to understand this argument to give varied perspectives to your future answer if and when a question is asked on sedition, whether it is constitutional or not. The most important article today to be read in editorial is reopen the files, reconsider privatization. This article is more important to understand why privatization is so hard in India and what are the pitfalls of blanket privatization and what should be the way forward. This is a wonderful article to get an understanding of how privatization should be done and what should be the approach for privatization. Moving on to the op-ed, these are the two new articles that you have to consider about regarding the keeping alive conversations about AIDS. Is important to understand the still persistent problem of AIDS in India, HIV AIDS in India particularly, and what is the stigma that is still associated with it. The next most important article in the op-ed that you have to read is rattling foreign investors, why India fails to adhere to international arbitrations and why it is problematic, and what are the best examples of India not adhering to international arbitrations. You have to understand and get this article in your brain to give perfect examples if and when a question is asked regarding the same. The next article that you have to read is nuclear capable Agni P missile test fired. So what is Agni, what is Agni P, where did Agni vehicles came from, what are the stages of Agni vehicles, who were the developers of Agni vehicles, what are the ranges of Agni vehicles, why are Agni vehicles are significant for India, and you have to know which platforms they can be launched from. Particularly, the Agni class of vehicles can be launched from air, water, sea and underwater through submarines. So that is the important article regarding this. The next article that you have to read is mode of entry no bar for need to read this article to get an understanding of what the law observes in terms of what is disabled and how it defines it. The next article that you have to read today is disincentivize and incentivize goes. Disincentives and incentives go together in approach to population. This is an understand to gauge and understand the perspective of how the establishment and the policy makers do think, and apart from that it is not that significant. Maybe the policy that government of Assam adopted is important, but not the entire thing. Article to read today is small civilian drones pose significant threat to says officials, and the next article following that you have to read is hope to resolve green pass issue soon, says SIACU. What is green pass, who is issuing it, why and why are they issuing? CoWIN's open source version to be provided to 50 nations. What is CoWIN platform and how it is useful in COVID-19 vaccination in India, and why it would be helpful to other 50 countries if they adopt this platform. This might be a prelims question and this might be an answer writing for mains to give an example of how India is helping the world to fight COVID-19. CoronaVac Safe or Children Safe study, who conducted it and what is the importance of CoronaVac and who are the manufacturers of CoronaVac and why CoronaVac is different from other vaccines. This is the perspective from which you have to study this article. India edges ahead of US in total jabs. You have to understand this article in terms of comparisons with the US and how it cannot be compared. India cannot be compared with US in certain things and can be compared in certain things. To get that understanding and to understand that difference and get a gauging of in which areas can you compare India with US and in which areas you cannot compare India with US. This is a area where you cannot compare with US. That is the perspective that you can get from this article. Moving on, confident divestments target for 1.7 lakh crore will be met CEA. This is again disinvestment. You have to link it up with the editorial that has been given today. And that would give you a nice anecdote and an example to write in mains, both the editorial and this article. Again, you link up this article, healthcare travel sector welcome stimulus, with the first article that talks about 6.28 lakh crore package, stimulus package, and why it is important, which sectors are getting affected by it or which sectors are left out and helping or helped by the stimulus package. These are the important articles to be read in Hindu newspaper today. Thank you for tuning into Perseverance IAS. Stay safe. Namaste.